First up, our top focus on the deepening Indo-US ties with the recent visit of India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to Washington. Two pivotal agreements were signed between both the countries, prioritizing support for defense-related goods and services, apart from signaling a deepening American commitment to South Asia as China's military footprint expands. Now, during the Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's four-day visit to the United States, India and the US signed a Security of Supply Arrangement, or SOSA, and an agreement on the assignment of liaison officers. Now, the SOSA is a non-binding bilateral pact that commits both countries to prioritize support for defense-related goods and services. The agreement aims to ensure access to pivotal industrial resources and address supply chain vulnerabilities critical to national security. The U.S. Department of Defense said India would receive assurances under its defense priorities and allocation systems in return for Indian companies providing priority support to the U.S. What this means is, if either the US or India ends up in combat with an adversary, the SOSA could help accelerate the delivery of crucial weapons and materials required for defense. With these agreements, India joins an elite group of 18 such partners, which includes nations like Australia, Canada, Britain, marking a significant step in defense cooperation. Then, the Memorandum of Agreement on the assignment of liaison officers allows India and the US to post military officers within each other's forces. India can assign an officer to the US Special Operations Command in Florida under the pact. The appointment would improve interoperability and intelligence sharing. Now, analysts believe that signing of the two agreements could send out a message on diminishing dependence on Russian military supplies and, of course, countering China's influence in the region. Experts also believe a technologically advanced Indian military, which aligns with American interests, could help temper Chinese military expansion and ensure Asia remains bipolar rather than unipolar. And for more on this, we're now being joined by Captain Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation, and a defense expert from New Delhi. Captain Alok Bansal, thanks very much for talking to us this evening. Let me begin by asking you, how do these two deals, Security of Supply Arrangement and the Memorandum of Agreement of Liaison Officers, help India improve interoperability, and why are they so important?
See, firstly, it shows an intent that both India and US want to come closer, and we are actually moving gradually towards a closer cooperation, greater interoperability. Coming to the first part, which ensures supplies, which ensures priority supply of equipment when it is required for national defense. We saw in the recent past that an HAL needed Tejas and we couldn't get engines because the US company was not in a position to supply them. That sort of things get obviated. Supposing tomorrow we were to go into a conflict or into a war-like situation, then we get a priority treatment on these supplies. And it's a both ways agreement which also binds Indian companies, though as of now, a lot of Indian companies are providing components. I'm not too sure if they are providing a full weapon system to US as it is. They are providing softwares, hardwares, and various components. So this actually binds the two countries closer and brings them closer. But to my mind, the second agreement is even more important, which is Memorandum of Agreement on the assignment of liaison officers. Because that, for the first time, positions Indian defense officers in US commands and vice versa. Now this, when the officers get positioned in a particular command headquarters in certain positions, it actually brings a certain level of compatibility, certain level of comfort, which is unparalleled. And this in long term will create a very good close relationship, and it will also help these liaison officers to explain each other's point of view in times of crisis or in any other crisis situation where a country is likely to deal with a third country and you would like to know each other's viewpoints.
Yeah, I agree with you that the liaison officer agreement seems to be very important, possibly more important than the SOSA. But big ticket in Indian military procurements from the US have included MH-60R Seahawk multi-role helicopters. They've been the M777 ultralight howitzers, and several other deals that are underway. Now, analysts believe that the signing of these two agreements reduces further dependence on Russian military supplies, and also, of course, counters China's influence in the region. Would you agree?
See, there is no doubt that these US equipment and weapon systems are extremely important, and I think this agreement allows us priority supply of these equipment and weapon systems in times of crisis. And most of these US-based weapon systems are highly sophisticated, are state-of-the-art and modern. But still, Indian armed forces are fairly dependent on Russian equipment because from the days of the Soviet Union, the mainstay of Indian armed forces have been Soviet equipment. And I don't think so that dependence will drastically come down. It will gradually come down. We are going for indigenization and more indigenous equipment are entering the service. So I'm not too sure whether it will drastically reduce Russian dependence, but yes, it provides us a bulwark against any Chinese aggression or any threat from China because it provides us an assurance that we will continue to get these critical supplies and weapon systems in times of crisis. I don't know if you remember, there was a time when US, etc. had imposed sanctions and had cut down vital supplies after the nuclear blasts had taken place, and even earlier we had come under sanctions for various things, and a large number of important weapon systems or platforms in Indian armed forces were not available because critical spares or components were not available, which were being sourced from Western countries, and most of them had some connect with the US. So those sort of issues which had earlier been a very severe limitation and which was a cause of concern for Indian armed forces are eliminated by this sort of an agreement, and this assures India will have a wherewithal to take on any threat that emanates from any other country.
Right. India joins an elite group of partners for the US as far as defense is concerned. And as you're pointing out, of course, we've moved leaps and bounds over the last 20 years as far as our defense relationship with the United States is concerned. Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation and defense expert from New Delhi, thanks very much indeed for talking to us this evening. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.